There's a common perception that strategic planning and the business agility garnered by an Agile environment are mutually exclusive. Strategic planners and organizations often resist implementing business agility and Agile organization structures as being an anathema to a well-run business. What is the truth? Can you have both strategic planning and an Agile business environment? This is a short overview version of a 2-day strategic planning in an Agile environment course that I teach, so we're going to go pretty fast today. I'm going to handle the questions a little bit differently today. Rather than have a question and answer session at the end of the webinar, if you go to LinkedIn and join the Keeping Agile LinkedIn group, which I've set up for webinars that I present, you can post your questions and I will answer them in detail. Simply sign on to LinkedIn, select interests, groups, then type in Keeping Agile in the search bar and hit enter. When the list returns, select Keeping Agile, then select the Join button. You're also welcome to join my LinkedIn network if you like. When you join the LinkedIn group, you can request a copy of the presentation, including my presentation notes, and I'll be happy to get that out to you. First, let's deal with a few questions. And that's fine. We had a little problem advancing the slides there. What is strategic planning? There are actually a lot of definitions for strategic planning. Strategic planning has grown complicated and unwieldy and unresponsive over the last decade in particular. Yet ultimately the reason for strategic planning is a simple one. It's to establish vision. So simply put, strategic planning is defining an organization's strategic direction and allocating resources to pursue its vision. Some of the most innovative works on strategic planning can be found in the writings of Ramelt, Keichler, and of course the seminal work of Mittenberg and Quinn, The Strategy Process. The strategy part of strategic planning comes in two flavors. First is highly planned or intended. The second is a pattern of iterative activity known as emergent. Emergent planning is gaining ground as organizations use this technique to adapt to ever-changing competitive environments. Emergent planning focuses on how an organization wants the future to look like and what their role will be as good citizens of that world, rather than the detailed means of getting there. Reid Hoffman, who's the chairman of LinkedIn, is an example of this kind of thinking. And we'll deal more with the details of strategic planning and its problems later in this webinar. But Reid Hoffman states, I worry about how it is that technology is changing the future and how we want to invent the future in the right way. So he's talking about what is the environment going to look like? How do we want to be a part of that? And in an ethical sense, how do we ensure that we're a good ethical participant in that environment? The focus on this new philosophy of strategic planning is less on directing activities and more on establishing a culture and defining what the environment looks like that the enterprise wishes to create. How does the organization act as a good citizen of the world? Jeff Weiner, CEO of LinkedIn, states, understanding what you are about, defining that core, and remaining true to that culture and value is where everything begins. Culture is not just who you are, it's who you aspire to be. And we're all about transforming the world and creating real opportunity for every one of the 3.3 billion professionals in the global workforce. Jeff Weiner is a very interesting guy, and he's one of the people that I follow on LinkedIn. He made a statement not too long ago that he used to spend most of his time in the office making decisions. And now he blocks out time, solid blocks of time, to do two very important things. The first is to constantly review his vision and decide, does the vision still fit? Are there new aspects of the vision? The second thing that he does, instead of making a lot of decisions himself, what he does is he spends time with his direct connections and works with them on making sure they understand the culture that he's trying to create. They understand the ethics. They understand the vision and the strategic plan, and in turn they work with others. He made a statement that that's the only way that you can control a hyper-growth organization, and certainly LinkedIn has been a hyper-growth organization. So, now we talked about strategic planning a little bit. What's your view of Agile? Is it embodied in the Agile Manifesto created in February of 2001 by 17 software developers who met at Snowberg Resort in Utah to discuss lightweight development methods? The manifesto states we are uncovering better ways of developing software by doing it and helping others do it. Through this work, we have come to value individuals and interactions over processes and tools, working software over comprehensive documentation, customer collaboration over contract negotiation, responding to change over following a plan. That is to say, while there is value on the items on the right, we value the items on the left more. Many people that I talk to feel that this is the definition of Agile. Actually, it's really only a very small part of being Agile, and in fact, it's late in coming. Even if we restrict our view to the world of software development, it is still late in coming. Well, what do I mean by that? Well, in reality, Agile software development is around 65 years old. It began as iterative software development methods that appeared in the late 1950s. E.A. Edmonds introduced an adaptive software development process in 1974. While in the early 1970s, Tom Gilb published the concepts of evolutionary project management, EVO. This evolved into competitive engineering later on. Starting in the mid-1970s, Dan Gielen, who pioneered early Agile software development known as rapid application development at the New York Telephone Company's Systems Development Center, began lecturing extensively throughout the U.S. on this methodology. The lightweight Agile software development methods further evolved in the 1990s as a reaction to the cumbersome, heavyweight, waterfall-oriented methods. Waterfall methods failed because they were slow, heavily regulated, and restrictive. They were regimented and often micromanaged by administrative management. Do those terms remind you of anything? So how old is Agile thinking in general, not just software development? Well, Agile thinking was certainly not born in this millennium, nor is Agile limited to or originated in software development. Agile has in fact been around at least since the time of Thomas Edison, and it's been used by NASA in the Apollo program long before the February 2001 meeting at Snowberg. Edison established an industrial research laboratory called Menlo Park in New Jersey in 1876. Menlo Park became the first institution set up with the specific purpose of producing constant technological innovation and improvement. Edison was famous for not wanting to follow the rules because he was inventing things. And indeed, that's the basis of Agile thinking, is don't be so concerned with following the rules because you're trying to do something as quickly and as efficiently as possible each time you do it. So you're reinventing yourself all the time. So let's take a look at some definitions on what I think Agile is. Agile is, in its deepest and most profound sense, a philosophy of intelligent adaptation to constantly acquired knowledge and changing circumstances. Agile is solely driven and measured by success. Agile is not simply a development methodology. Ultimately, all aspects of the enterprise, from strategic planning to the most